Hi, I'm Marcela Flores.
And I'm Sophia Alba, and we are media arts students here at UNT. And today we're interviewing Silas Pierce, who is a DFW native from Flower Mound, which isn't that far from here, right?
No, it's about like 20, 25 minutes, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. And our first question that we have for you is it finale of youth?
Finale.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Because we were like debating on whether or not.
Oh, like finale.
Yeah, because when
Yeah.
I first saw the press kit for this, I
Sure.
was like, "Oh, is it a finale?" I've been saying finale.
No, my dad was doing that forever. He's like finale of youth, and I was like, Dad, that's not the name of it. He's like, that's kind of like his, I guess, way of saying it. I think it's like a tomato kind of thing. But
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
the name of it I've had for like, I guess since I was probably like 18, so I'm like 23, almost 24, so however long that is, I guess.
5 years, I think.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about math. I was like,
Oh,
I can't do math, so.
okay.
Um, what do you think was like the first thing that you had down for the movie? Was it the title or was it?
Yeah, I guess I would say so. I mean, I had kind of the idea for the ending when I was in 10th grade. So that it didn't really have like a title or like what it really even was. It was just kind of I was listening to, music. A
Oh,
lot
this
of
is like a Baby Driver situation.
yeah, kind of like a
Mhm.
lot of what I feel like I end up coming up with starts with like listening to like a song or something, and then it will spiral from there,
Mhm.
and I kind of just leave it in the incubator till it's ready to be whatever it's gonna be. But so I guess it kind of started there, and then I had a title for a whole different thing, and things kind of came together that way.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, you said you've dedicated the past 3 years to this project.
Yes.
So how did the idea start? I guess you kind of already answered that, the 10th grade.
Well, I think that was a very rough like version of it. I would say I had an idea to I guess do this coming of age movie, and I wasn't sure what it was going to be. I just wanted to put a lot of my own experiences into something, and I think once I actually graduated high school, because I was trying to write something, and this is before like that kind of 3 year period. I was trying to write something I didn't live through, like I didn't experience, so it never clicked. And then once I kind of went through that, it was like, okay, wait, I have a whole different story I kind of want to tell with this,
Mhm.
and that's when it kind of became what it ended up becoming.
Oh, okay, so you just didn't have the yeah, because you
Yeah.
were in 10th grade, so it's kind of like a
Yeah, like, how do you write for something that you don't
yeah.
understand? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I noticed in your Instagram, I was like going through there,
Oh,
that you said that this narrative ended up being super close to you
yeah,
personally.
yes.
So what kind of happened after you graduated?
Oh, man, I mean, I think there's sort of this a lot of the movies really more based, I'd say, around the summer between my junior and senior year. I graduated during, COVID, but a lot of my friends were, like, a grade older than me, and so that was their kinda, like, last summer there, and I think a lot of it was, like, kind of having just like the time of my life. I feel like during that summer, and it wasn't. We were shooting a short film actually during that period. It was called Atomic Sunday, and it was just really fun. It was stupid. It was this kind of like stupid all over the place thing, but we knew it was, and it was part of why it was so much fun is that we weren't like super worried about getting it perfect because it was like this can be whatever it wants to be,
Yeah, it
and
can
let's
be
just have fun.
anything.
Yeah, and so we were just having like a blast doing it, and then you know, uh, we premiered that like the Texas theater like towards the end of that summer, and then after that, like a lot of the people I was friends with, like I just didn't talk to anymore. Like I think just distance became a big thing, and I
Yeah.
didn't really realize how much of a change that was going to be, and it really, I think, in some ways, kind of hurt. Um, but I also kind of ended up going through quite a bit of like some pretty serious depression and
Mhm.
anxiety. I think following that time period, and not because of that, but just other things. And I think when I started writing this movie, it was something where I was kind of pouring a lot of how I felt and kind of the things that were really hurting me into something productive.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of how it came about.
Yeah, I think that's really constructive. I think that's really similar to like how other people journal.
Yeah,
Like story writers write about their experiences and things
right.
like that.
a lot of the times, like, I guess because you're in it, you're not on the other side yet.
Yeah.
So it's hard to write about things like when you're going through those pivotal phases.
Right.
So I guess being on the other side of it now, what what would you want somebody in your position to take away from, I guess, like just a
Yeah.
older.
I think things are gonna change, and sometimes it sucks. It's not the end of the world, and it's not always a bad thing. And I think that, like, that's part of life too, is, like, you kind of feel like you think everything's gonna be stagnant, and then once something does change, it's kinda scary, but then ultimately, life can take so many turns, like, pretty quickly too, and so I think anytime I've ever also just felt, like, really down, it's like something will come along and change, and then the 4 months later, I'm doing something I didn't think I'd be doing 4 months later, and you forget, like, life isn't always gonna be that broken record. You feel like you're stuck in, like, things can change, and life can be pretty awesome sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense because I think when I came to college, I had kind of like my own finale of youth
Yeah.
the summer after I graduated. And I kind of went through the same thing where like, oh, a lot of my friends that I'm only close to four of my friends that I made throughout middle school and high school. And like you said, you don't realize distance is such a big thing.
Right.
Even though everybody spends all of your former years telling you that, things change and you're like holding on to things that you don't want to change. And I think the title really hits home to that experience. It's like what you're talking about, because I personally am a sucker for nostalgia. I had a personal project
Yeah.
that I published in a magazine here, a local magazine called Yarn Bomb, and
Oh,
it's
nice.
called Can't Go Backwards.
Hell yeah.
And it's about, like going, like you're experiencing your first college parties
Yeah.
and how you go from kind of like how you were in 10th grade, you go from seeing something, being like, oh, I wish I was there. And then you experience it. And then you kind of cross that boundary between, oh, I wish I was there to, wow, I'm here. And now it's over.
Right.
Yeah. And it's so crazy. But you did say, I also saw in your Student Spark fundraiser thing that you mentioned Richard
Oh,
Linklater's
yeah.
Dazed and Confused, Slacker, and Wes Anderson's Bottle Rocket. Were
Right.
those
Seem-
inspirations for you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. One thing that I find really great about all that is the nature of it being based in Texas and being really their first kind of projects. Because like Slacker's like this really low budget film that Richard Linklater just kind of did with some friends, and I think it still holds up and it kind of has this quality to it where it's a little rough around the edges, but it still works. And Bottle Rocket, I feel like it's kind of the same way because it's so different than like Wes Anderson's later work, but it has the same quirks a little bit, but it's
Mhm.
not quite, the kind of perfectly framed sort of Wes Anderson that like we know now. And I think that kind of excites me because it's like you can make something on a very low budget, and it work as long as you have people who really love the story as much as you do, and you have something to say.
Yeah, I think that was one of the most surprising things that I saw on your fundraising thing is that at least in my head,
Yeah.
especially because I plan on going into bigger narrative films
Sure.
and like commercials and things like that. Especially now in this economy, all of the movie budgets are like booming.
Right.
And your budget is actually, I feel like it's really achievable. Like I feel like you
Yeah.
can totally get there. It's like 30 to 35,000,
Right. Yeah.
And I was just like, damn, like.
Uh,
And I was like, is this just for production? And it was like, no, it's for pre-production and post.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
like
like,
everything. Yeah.
oh. And one of the things I saw is that you were doing equipment rentals. Do you know what camera you want to use?
So with that, there's kind of different levels to it with like everything with the budget, right? It's really about how much we raise. I th- we have some ideas.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I saw your test footage also as
Right.
well on your Instagram. It really hit home for me because
Oh,
I
thanks.
have I have a really, really old Canon DSLR
Yeah.
from like the early 2000s
Yeah.
that my sister used, and she's 6 years older than me. She graduated in 2016,
Right.
so it's old. And I go out with my friends and I go on vacations with my family and I take videos of it, and it really gave me that like hit home, because it was like really shaky, like camcorder almost, and I
Right.
was like, oh, this is like yeah, this is something I would want to see like up
I
there.
think the thing with that too is I wanted to create kind of an aesthetic and like a sort of I guess we call it like a mood board trailer, like a visual mood board, and I guess that's maybe the best way to describe it. Is like not quite like scenes from the movie, but it's just sort of the feeling I wanted to give people. And with that too, it's like a lot of that footage is stuff that I either shot specifically for that or like other short films I did. But yeah, it was mainly like a T3i. I shot a lot of that on.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and I think the thing with like cameras, I mean, obviously, like there's definitely benefits to having like some great equipment, like hiring cameras, but I think also it's like lenses are so important. Um, but more than that too, I think just framing and composition and lighting goes, I think, so much further than people realize. Because it's like if you have, kind of like crappy like camera, it's like if you can frame something right and you can light it right and make it work, you can kind of use like the rougher edges from that camera to your advantage, especially if the story's kind of giving that like nostalgia thing or if it's a little fuzzy. And we talked about that quite a bit, like going into kind of this project was like, if we can't raise what we need to, like, we can film it on things that are a little older and just kind of lean into that aesthetic. And I think like, Bottle Rocket and Slacker kind of do that, right? Because they're shot on 16 millimeter and, it's not like the best lenses in the world, but they have this kind of rough quality and I love those movies and people still love them. And
Yeah,
yeah,
you can really do anything. You can even like Tangerine the whole
E-
situation.
exactly, yeah.
Like Tangerine looks great,
Right.
and a lot of people were like, "No way, this was shot on an iPhone."
Yeah.
Like the ultimate Apple commercial.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, man, I mean, I think we talked a lot about just different projects like that too. Because I think like with the budget, it's like it's funny. People who don't understand the kind of film world will kind of look at that and go, "Wow, that's a lot of money, right?" It's not, and I know y'all know that, but it's not like at all. But um, what we were really able to kind of figure out was like, okay, we can see how much we need to pay everybody, but more than that, it's sort of like a lot of it was locations I have access to already, mixed with just sort of like a very bare bones crew. Because it's sort of like I've been on multiple projects, and you kind of see how things operate and like what is absolutely necessary. And I think it was like we can cut a lot of like crew positions, things like that, if we need to, and still be able to function. Because like I worked on a film doing audio, and this is how I met like Tristan too. Was on a movie called Nowhere Fast that was produced by Blue Neptune, which was the production company that's helping me with this, and they only had me doing sound and then like a gaffer and a DP.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, and you wouldn't know.
It's really like
Wow.
a
Yeah,
student project type thing because
yeah,
that's a lot of what we do here.
right.
Like she works with the journalism school, right?
I do, yeah. I do mostly like broadcast, but Sophia does mostly film productions.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. It's like you wouldn't know. It
Yeah.
was amazing. Yeah.
It's crazy too because I'm in the advanced film production class here at UNT, and it's been revamped this year to be a whole academic year long. So it's
Nice.
9 months, and we go through the whole course. And we did pre-production and post, and we're in post right now. And I think it looks pretty good. And like obviously, like I mean, our budget was $500.
Right.
Like you would never know. But also, I mean, like we do have access to the
Yeah.
school because we are very privileged. We shot that whole thing on the Red V Raptor XO.
Oh,
It
nice.
was very,
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
nice. But like, you can do a lot with like $500, really.
Right.
Because like I'm the producer for it, and I finessed my way into an industrial sized kitchen for a whole weekend for free out
Nice.
in Garland, and that was one of the craziest things ever.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is like, okay, like how many favors can I call in? And then
Yeah.
also like what do we absolutely need to pay for? What can we kind of just get away with? And what like I don't know. Like I think a lot like what you're saying too is like you can get away with doing things pretty cheap if you know how to.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the
Yeah.
questions that we had for you because you know, you are DFW native
Right.
and you're from around this area specifically, which I think you said you're planning to shoot it around here in Denton, right?
Absolutely.
And Fort
Yeah.
Worth between here and there. And like, I know I've been able to wiggle my way into like free, you know, places without having
Yeah.
to pay things. Like, is that an advantage that you've been talking to people about? Like, because, you know, like when you're in pre-production, you're like kind of asking around
Yeah.
to feel out who was willing to sign some paper for
Yeah.
free.
No, absolutely. There's locations that we're very determined to get the sign on to do, and there's some locations that we might not. I'm gonna leave it at that. And that's,
You
yeah.
said you have like a crew. Is it mostly people you met through different film
Yes. Yeah.
organizations or friends?
Mainly, so I would say mainly like friends that helped me meet other friends that were interested. And then, yeah, just people I've worked with in the past. And I think as you do more projects, you kind of grow a little bit of a network. And not that I've done like a lot, but I think also like one of the best things to do, like I think on any shoot you do or anything, like find a way to like talk about what you like and kind of scout out people too that you would want to like work with. Because like with one of the lead actors in the film, Sion, I met her on a like 3-day shoot in 2022, and she's so talented, and I was kind of probably on my second draft of the movie, and I was like, I want her to play this character, and I didn't tell her. You know, it was just one of those things where it was kind of in the back of my mind, like, okay, I'm gonna get what I need to get done here first, and then see where she's at in life, where I'm at in life, and can this work? And she's read it so many times, and I think more than just an actor I'm working with, she's a friend too, and gave me some great notes on the project as well as it went along, and I really appreciated it.
Did you have the same experience with like Tristan? Because
Yeah.
did you meet him before or after his little Stranger Things debut?
I met him after.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he was in Nowhere Fast as well, which I met him on that set, and like I said, I was just doing like location recording, like, and he like we didn't really talk that much. We did kind of off and on, and one thing I think that was interesting about him was obviously he's very talented, but he kind of would he's played a lot of these characters that are very like not great people.
Yeah, I saw his comment on your Instagram
Yeah.
post where he's like, "Stop my killing streak" or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he just got off of a set in New York for a show. I don't know if I'm allowed to say what it is, but he was saying like I did some of my best work like on there, and I'm really excited. And that's not going to be too long to see what that is. But yeah, but it tends to be kind of these like very intimidating character. Like even on like Stranger Things, like
Yeah, he was the bully.
yeah, his voice in that's deeper
Oh, really?
than his
That's not
actual
his
voice.
voice?
No, it's not. I mean, it is, and it is like so. I talked to him about that. We had a like a lunch pretty early on, and I was like, I gotta ask you this question, dude. Like, did you know you were doing that? And he was like, you know what? It got pointed out to me after the fact, but no, it wasn't intentional. And I think that actually speaks to him as an actor. Is like he's so in that zone that like those little things just kind of come out of him, and he's not even aware of it. And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of to me like that's pretty cool that you can get so far into a character and really your voice changes to that extent and you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people have to like really be intentional with how they present.
And it can almost not work if it's intentional, because then you're
Yeah,
like,
because then you're pretending.
yeah, right.
But if you're just going with it, like some of the best actors that I've worked with, like I have one that I constantly go back to.
Yeah.
He's like honestly one of the best actors here, in my opinion. Name is Renan Raimundo. But like I've had him in almost all of my short films, either on cast or crew, and I'll just be like, yo, man, like we give him a character, we give him a breakdown, and then like he just comes up with all these crazy backstories. And like I'll be like, oh, that was so good, like this take was so good, and he's like, yeah, so like in my head. The character did this and that, and he feels this because he's like mom or dad. I'm like, okay,
But that's
crazy.
awesome though,
Yeah.
you know, because it's great to see. I feel like anything you write, like obviously it can only be so good, but then when like someone else takes it and they like it just as much and they expand on it,
Yeah, they like bring it to life.
right? Like they're taking the time to not just like think about what you wrote, but add to it and take it and add it to theirs. Like that's so cool because it's like, yeah. So it's like, you know, they're coming up with like a backstory, and you're like, dude, I couldn't come up with that. I think that's what's great about having like working with people, because I think some people are like really very much like, this is my thing and it's just my thing. And it's like, yeah, on some level, but like, I'm not always gonna have the best idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just the truth. Like, and so I think having people come in and say, you know what, I don't know about this line of dialogue. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's like usually a really good thing, because it kind of turns into something where you're like thinking about it. And sometimes you're like, no, it works and this is why. But sometimes you're like, yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And then it becomes even better, you know?
Yeah. So you're the writer-director, right?
Yes.
I think that's a really, really important and good hallmark of a good writer-director, because
Yeah.
I've worked with some not so great
Right.
writers and directors, but like one of the things that was consistent with the good ones that I have worked with is that their willingness to take direction
Right.
or like advice or anything, or like even just being open. Because like a lot of the times, like a phrase that me and my friends often say, including my teachers, like, you have to be ready to kill your babies. Like, you can't just hold on to it. You can't keep trying to revive it. Like, it's okay to let it die. If it sucks, it sucks. You know, like it's not always going to be good. And like that's why like I'm really excited for this movie. I hope it like goes off, because it's like, I don't know, I'm just getting like really good vibes from this.
I think, you know, it's funny. I think my way of thinking about it, especially when it's like still a work in progress, is it's like everything's subject to leave or change, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd rather someone tell me that something sucks when I can change it than once it's like solidified, you're watching and you're like, dude, I gotta be honest, I kind of like the entire time thought this scene was like trash.
Just why didn't you say anything?
Yeah, and it's like, well, thanks. Like, you know, we can't do anything about it now, but especially with writing too, like I kind of like when people give me like a lot of really honest feedback, like nothing here is working.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's like, okay, cool. I know it's not working now, and I've got that feedback from multiple people, and then I also have advice on how to change it. I can come up with ideas now, and then it can only get better.
Yeah, it's only up from here.
Right. I mean, and like every first draft's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I mean, because I think like if you don't think your first draft sucks, then you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah, we usually call the first draft around here word vomit.
Yeah.
You know, just like throw it on the paper, get it on the paper, and then you can start organizing it out.
Absolutely, yeah.
But since this is like your 5th short film, I believe, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
Because I went on your IMDb.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I saw there's Jake.
You're right.
Transcolorism.
Yeah.
Atomic Sunday, and there's one more.
I did one called The Deep End. I don't know if it's on there.
Oh, and Nightfall.
Oh, Nightfall.
And Elegy's on there, but there's no like.
Oh yeah, that's actually where I met Sion.
Oh.
Yeah, so
okay.
I did just like some camera op stuff on that one. But yeah, so this is gonna be like my first like feature. And yeah, those other ones, the short films though, those were so much fun to do.
Yeah, there always are. But since you've kind of been through like, you know, the rigorous and tedious process of like pre, post, and pro, is there like any advice you could give the students here, especially because like the UNT Media Arts program is pretty big here, and one of the things that I think it kind of lacks is like offering real experience and real advice, because you know, like we have our A film class and it's pretty good this year, and it's only going to go up from here, but this is its first year, so you know, I feel like a lot of students don't really have the understanding and the grasp and the knowledge of just how much it is, even if for a short feature, you know. So like, is there any advice that you would give someone, especially like in the pre-production process, because so many things fall apart constantly, and it's the same thing in production, but like in pre, it can kind of feel defeating, because you know, it's like, oh, not even like shooting yet, and people are dropping, things like that. So
Well, I think one of the things is just like everything that can go wrong is absolutely going to go wrong, but I think there's no such thing as too much prep. I think that's absolutely necessary because I think that especially like on such a low budget, you mess up a day, you can't get that day back. So, you need to have the backup plan already ready. And so kind of like a phrase, is like we're always are like, okay, how are we making lemonade out of this?
yeah,
And you kind of take a second and think, okay, well, this sucks. What do I do? And I think that, yeah, over preparing is never a bad thing. But I think also coming in with kind of the idea of what most likely could go wrong and being like, okay, what's our contingency plan for this? Because if you already have that prepared, like you kind of at least have an idea of like, this is going wrong. Okay, that's fine. We prepared for this. We understand like this could have happened. So we have, something in play for that. And I think also like, don't freak out.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I see a lot of people freak out and just kind of like
It's hard not to.
give up. It's
Yeah.
really hard not to. Like me and my AD and my director, like I think all of us had some sort of medical condition
Yeah.
where like I think because most of the above the line crew during the pre-production progress broke out in hives.
Oh no!
this
What
trip.
did you do?
We just like it's a student film,
Yeah.
and people say they can do things, and then they end up not being able to do things.
Right.
Their job, their school, family.
Yeah.
And then no one's getting paid either. It's a
No.
student film, so it's always like, oh, like I know this person and like they can do it, but like whether or not they will actually do it and deliver is another thing. And then like finding locations was really hard.
Yeah.
And, like then also the thing is like it's a class, and so on a regular production like yours, I like the way that I view productions like that is that you have nothing to lose because
Right.
it's not for like a studio or like a grade or anything, but you have everything to gain. But in a class, everybody's like, oh, well, I'm in the class.
Right.
So, of course, I need to be here. And it kind of leads to people just doing nothing while feeling like they deserve everything. No tea, no shade, but it happens. But that even happens in real life where
Yeah.
people will be on set and kind of just waste everybody's time. And it's really unfortunate because that can really hinder like the day or something like that. It's like if it's your camera operator, if it's your script soup and you have no editing notes and things like that. And that's why I agree with what you said wholeheartedly. Like, it's so important to have plans. Like
Right.
I tried so hard to have plan A through Z and then AA, BB.
Yeah, it just all falls apart at some point.
Yeah.
I think part of it too is like, I think knowing how to do a lot, like you don't have to be proficient in every single aspect of production, but knowing how to kind of do a lot of it's important because I mean, if you're like directing people, like it kind of helps to know exactly like what they can and can't do within reason. But I think also, yeah, like things fall through, people fall through, and it's like knowing how to kind of manage that because it's like, okay, well, they were gonna do this. We can either give this to this person or I can do part of it. Because like the thing that kind of sucks too, I think on stuff that's like so low budget is like as a director, you're gonna have to do more than you know you would probably do on like a big budget film.
Yeah, because like on a big budget film, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm the director, I'm just directing.
Right.
Like when you're.
It's never that way. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm sure you've done a lot of things
Right,
that
yeah.
aren't traditional to the writer director role, especially for this.
Yeah. I mean, I think with this too, it's like I think the biggest hurdle with like as with like everything is just the funding. And so, we still have a ways to go with that, and we have the Seed and Spark page up, but I think we still have some marketing ideas too that are kind of fun, and I don't want to like share anything, not because it's like secret, but
So don't want to spoil it.
and it's I don't want to like say something and then it not
It
like
doesn't happen.
yeah, and then it's
Oh.
like, but I think also like what is it? Under promising, over delivering is never a bad thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's time. It's been almost 30 minutes. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Just when are we expecting to start seeing stuff maybe, or keep a lookout for?
Oh man, that is going to depend on a lot of factors. I don't know. I think So if we are able to shoot when we want to shoot, I would say at least a year. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
It's good to start now and start citing your sources.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty standard for a feature film. Because how long are you expecting it to be?
I don't want it over 2 hours. We have, going with like the script, it's like there's it's pretty long with page count, but a lot of it's very dialogue heavy, and a lot of it's like one word, or it's
Oh, okay.
so and super fast paced as well. So I think probably like I would give it like a rough like hour 45 maybe.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty good because especially for like a first time feature.
Yeah, you don't want it to be like
Super long.
3 hour. Yeah, because A, that's like gonna be like really hard to shoot within that many days, and B, like it probably won't be very good. Like I'm not Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, it's just too much to put into one thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming here today, and coming to see us. I'm really excited. I hope I get to see. Like, I'm probably gonna forget about this, but I hope I see it like come out, and I'm gonna be like, oh my god.
Like I was already talking about, yeah.
Yeah, because I was saying, I was like, I don't know, I like the aesthetics of it, just really.
Oh, thank you.
And then like the Seed and Spark page, you were like,
Right.
oh, like too many blockbusters out here, where a lot of people can't relate.
Yeah.
Because it's all like heroics and everything, and everybody does want to be a hero, loosely. Anyways.
Right.
But like
I hope.
you don't really see that many coming of age stories nowadays, really, especially like. Because I feel like a lot of companies and investors are trying to
Yeah.
play it safe. They're like, oh, well, this is the formula.
Right.
And a lot of people complain. But, like, I feel like this could be, like, something like maybe, like, the Florida Project or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think also like part of it too, I think is like I'm pretty young, and I think that can sometimes be seen as like a little bit of a negative thing. But I think writing a movie like this, it's like so many coming of age stories, like by the time people are able to make them, they're much older, and then it's like they get more and more out of touch with
Yeah.
the kind of audience they're trying to reach, or they're trying to portray, and you get outdated slang or things that people are saying that kind of like, yeah, people say that, but not like that, and it's just,
Yeah.
it becomes kind of cringy. But I wanted to do something also when I was still kind of young that still resonated with me. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really awesome.
I think it's even better that, you're a Texas filmmaker
Yeah.
and you're bringing that to Texas kind of ahead of when it's supposed to happen, because I don't know if you know about all the bills and stuff that are trying to
Right.
pass right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So here's hoping our future
Is secure
bright
here.
and
Yeah.
secure.
I love the state, and like I've lived here my whole life, and I think the sunsets are like awesome and so easy to capture. Like just something really great with that. I think a lot. And yeah, different landscapes. A little further to get to them than maybe like LA, but yeah, still very a lot of varying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, but thank you so
Really
much for
appreciate
coming
it.
up for here. And I think that's all we have for today.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Awesome. Yeah.
Hope y'all enjoyed.